The morning sun was just starting to push through the mist at Arlington National Cemetery, soft and quiet, like it didn't want to disturb the peace. The air was crisp, cold enough to make your breath fog, sharp enough to wake you up for real. Golden leaves clung to the trees or drifted slowly to the ground, settling on marble headstones that stretched across the hills like rows of silent soldiers standing guard. At the center of it all, on a raised plaza of white stone, stood the tomb of the unknown soldier. No name, no rank, just sacrifice carved in marble and protected by tradition. And in front of it, moving with perfect rhythm, was one man, 21 steps forward, a pause, a sharp turn. Rifle shifted from one shoulder to the other, boots clicking in exact time. Then 21 steps back. That's the ritual. Every second, every minute, rain or shine, cold or heat, no exceptions. This wasn't performance, it wasn't for show, this was duty. His name was Ryan Mitchell, 28 years old, 6'1", brown hair cut short, green eyes that never wandered. A navy blue uniform so sharp it looked like it could cut the air. On his chest, the Tomb Guard badge, small but heavier than most people realize. Ryan didn't talk, didn't smile, didn't look at the crowd. He just walked, precise, unbroken, unshaken. To most, he looked like a statue in motion. But those who knew better, veterans, soldiers, those who'd seen war, could see the truth. This wasn't just discipline. This was a man who'd been tested. He'd served 2 tours in Syria, earned a Silver Star for dragging his entire squad out of an ambush while bullets tore up the ground around them. He carried scars, some you could see, most you couldn't, but none of it showed on his face, because out here on this stone plaza it wasn't about him. It was about the 3 unknown soldiers buried beneath that marble. Men whose names were lost, whose families never got to bring them home, whose final act was giving everything so others could live. And Ryan, he made sure they were never forgotten. A small crowd had gathered, families, tourists, veterans, some held cameras. Others stood with their hands folded, eyes lowered. A young boy, maybe 8, tugged his dad's sleeve. "Dad, why does he walk like that? Doesn't he get tired?" The man knelt down, voice low. "It's about respect, Tommy. For the ones who gave everything and never came home. That soldier, he's making sure we don't forget them." Nearby, an older man in a worn coat stood with his teenage granddaughter. Harold Bennett, 78, fought in the Pacific during World War II. His face was lined with years, but his eyes were clear. He watched Ryan's steps like he was seeing a language only soldiers understand. "This," he said quietly to his granddaughter, Emily, "is what duty looks like." "Not many people get it anymore." She nodded, clutching a small American flag she'd bought at the visitor center. Then engine noise. A sleek black Mercedes SUV rolled up to the edge of the plaza, tires crunching on the gravel. Too loud, too fast, too out of place. The door opened. A man stepped out like he owned the sidewalk. Victor Langston, 55. Silver hair, perfectly styled. Charcoal suit that probably cost more than most cars. Gold Rolex on his wrist. Eyes that scanned the scene like he was already bored. His assistant, Margaret, followed close behind, mid-30s, sharp iPad in hand, trying to keep up. "Too slow, Davis," Victor snapped at his driver, already walking. "We're on a schedule. I don't have time for dawdling." Margaret tapped her screen. "Sir, the tech summit meeting is at 2. We could have handled this remotely. Saved time. Victor waved her off. I don't trust photos. If Langston Innovations is hosting the biggest AI summit in DC, I need to see the space myself. He glanced around the cemetery, voice dripping with disdain. Though why anyone would pick this dusty old graveyard over a modern conference center is beyond me. His words cut through the quiet like glass. People turned, frowned, whispered. A woman in a red coat muttered, "Who does he think he is?" Harold's jaw tightened. He'd seen men like Victor before. Men who thought money made them untouchable. Victor strode toward the tomb, heels clicking like a metronome. Margaret trailed behind, tense. "Sir," she said carefully, "this is Arlington National Cemetery. It's not just a venue, it's a graveyard." Victor didn't slow. "A monument to the past." "That's all. My company's building the future. AI, quantum computing, global markets. That's real power." He waved at the tomb. "This, a tourist trap, plain and simple." Murmurs spread through the crowd. A veteran in a cap muttered, "Typical DC hotshot." A young mom with a stroller stepped back. "This guy's trouble." Harold leaned down. "Some folks think money buys respect. They're wrong." Victor stopped just outside the velvet rope, his eyes locked on Ryan. "Look at this guy," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "A living statue. What's the point?" Margaret shifted, uncomfortable. "Sir, tomb guards are elite soldiers. They're highly trained." Victor cut her off with a laugh. "Marching in circles like a wind-up toy. My engineers code algorithms that run the world. This guy's just playing dress-up for selfies." He pulled out his phone, snapped a photo of Ryan. "I'll use this in my keynote, tradition versus progress. Guess which one wins every time." Harold's hands clenched behind his back. Emily whispered, "Grandpa, why is he being so rude?" "He's got money," Harold said, voice low, "but no class. Men like him don't understand sacrifice." The tension thickened. Victor checked his watch, deliberate, like he was reminding everyone who was important. Time's, money, and mine's worth more than anyone in this crowd. Ryan didn't react. His steps didn't change. 21. Pause, turn, shift. But those who knew soldiers could see it, the quiet tension in his shoulders. The way his grip on the rifle was just a little tighter. This wasn't his first storm. Victor, seeing no reaction, pushed harder. "Hey, soldier boy, what's the pay like for this gig?" "Bet my driver makes more than you, and he doesn't have to stand like a mannequin." Davis, the driver, flinched, looked away, embarrassed. Margaret's voice tightened. "Sir, maybe we should go now." Victor ignored her. "I'm curious. What does it take to get a reaction out of you? Discipline? Or just stubbornness?" Silence. The crowd held its breath. A little boy whispered, "Mommy, is that man allowed to yell like that?" She shushed him, eyes wide. Harold took a half-step forward, old instincts waking up. Victor's face flushed. He wasn't used to being ignored. In his world, people jumped when he spoke. Now, no one moved. He raised his voice. "You know who I am, Victor Langston, CEO of Langston Innovations. My company's market cap is bigger than half the countries in NATO. I've dined with presidents, closed deals that keep the economy running." He paused, staring at Ryan. "And you're a prop in a history lesson, nothing more." Still, Ryan didn't flinch. So Victor tried a new tactic. "I'll donate $1 million," he said, loud and smug, "to any veterans charity you pick." All you have to do is say, "Good afternoon, Mr. Langston." "Go on," gasps rippled through the crowd. Tommy tugged his dad's leg. "That's not fair, Dad," his father nodded. "It's not about fairness, son, it's about respect." Harold's voice dropped. "This man's about to learn something the hard way." Ryan didn't move, didn't speak, didn't break rhythm. So Victor stepped over the velvet rope. Big mistake. He walked onto the restricted plaza, polished shoes scuffing the sacred stone. "You hear me?" he shouted. $1 million. Acknowledge me." Margaret grabbed his arm. "Sir, you can't do this. You're not allowed." He shook her off. The crowd froze. Phones lowered. Harold started forward, but Emily held his arm. "Grandpa, no." Then Ryan stopped, mid-step, unprecedented. He turned, slowly, deliberately, sunglasses reflecting Victor's furious face. When he spoke, his voice was low, calm, but it carried like thunder. "Sir," he said, "this tomb honors those who gave their lives for this nation. You're standing on sacred ground. Step back, show respect." The words hit like a slap. The crowd went silent. A woman wiped her eyes. "He's right. This place isn't a stage." Victor froze, just for a second. Then his pride roared back. "Respect," he spat. "I fund this country. My taxes pay for your little parade. You don't tell me what to do." And then he raised his hand and slapped Ryan across the face. The sound cracked through the air like a gunshot. A red mark bloomed on Ryan's cheek. The outline of Victor's fingers, clear as day, gasps, shouts. A child buried his face in his father's jacket. A veteran in a wheelchair clenched his fists. "That's too far." Harold lunged forward, but Emily held him back. The crowd erupted. "You can't do that. Get him out of here." Ryan didn't move, jaw tight, cheek burning, but his posture perfect, rifle steady, eyes locked behind those sunglasses unbroken. Then 2 security officers appeared, fast, calm, professional. One grabbed Victor's arm. "Sir, you're under arrest, assaulting a service member on duty. Violating restricted grounds. You'll need to come with us." Victor fought, face red, voice rising. "Do you know who I am? I'm Victor Langston. I'll have your jobs. My lawyers will bury this place. I have meetings with senators this afternoon." Ryan's voice cut in, clear, unshaken. "You assaulted a soldier guarding the tomb of the unknown. Sir, your meetings don't matter here. Your money doesn't matter here." The officers pulled Victor back. He screamed, "This isn't over. I own half of DC. My company runs this country's infrastructure." But his words faded, empty, hollow. Margaret stood frozen, iPad slipping in her hands. Davis was already on the phone, legal team on speed dial. Harold stepped forward, voice strong. "That uniform isn't a costume," he said, pointing at Ryan. "That man earned the right to stand there. 2 tours in Syria. A silver star." He pulled his squad out of an ambush under enemy fire. He looked around at the crowd. "The tomb he guards, it's for the soldiers who never came home, whose names we'll never know. That's what this place means." Nods, tears. A veteran in a wheelchair gave Ryan a slow, trembling salute. A young woman whispered, "I didn't realize what this meant. I get it now." Ryan spoke again, softer this time. "This tomb isn't about me. It's about the unknown soldiers who gave everything so we could stand here today. I guard it to make sure they're never forgotten." He turned, resumed his march. Click, 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 21 steps. Pause, turn, shift, the red mark still on his face, but his honor untouched. Harold approached, voice thick. "Thank you, son," he said, "for them, for all of us." Ryan gave a small nod, nothing more. Victor was led away, shouting, fading into the distance. Margaret watched him go, then looked back at Ryan. For the first time, she saw something she'd never seen in Victor: strength. Not the kind that shouts, the kind that stands. The crowd began to leave, but not the same. They walked slower, talked quieter. Parents knelt to explain to their kids what they'd just seen. Tommy looked up at his dad. "Is that soldier a hero, Dad?" His father nodded, voice heavy. "Yeah, Tommy, he's a hero. Not because he fought back, but because he didn't have to. He stood for something bigger." The mother added, "This place is about remembering. That's what he's doing." Tommy nodded, held his flag tighter. Around Ryan, golden leaves fell like silent tributes. The tomb stood, as it always had, a symbol, not of war, of sacrifice, of the cost of freedom, and one man standing watch. Not for fame, not for money, but for those who can't, for the unknowns, for the ones who gave everything. The Mercedes sat idle at the edge of the plaza, engine still running, like it was waiting for a man who no longer mattered in that moment. Davis, the driver, stood beside it, phone pressed to his ear, voice low and urgent. "Yes, it's bad." He slapped a tomb guard at Arlington in front of witnesses, dozens of them. Phones were out. It's already online. He didn't need to say more. By the time Victor was placed in the back of the security vehicle, still shouting, still threatening, the video was spreading, not a slow leak, a wildfire. Someone had captured the whole thing, from Victor's first loud remark to the slap, to Ryan's calm response, to the arrest. 60 seconds of raw, unfiltered truth, posted on a quiet Tuesday morning. And by noon, it had millions of views, not because it was shocking, but because it was real. In a world full of filters, performances, and curated lives, this was something people hadn't seen in a long time. A man with everything trying to break a man with nothing but duty, and failing completely. News outlets picked it up fast, not just local, national, international. Headlines flashed across screens. Billionaire slaps tomb guard at Arlington, gets arrested. Victor Langston vs. Honor, a moment that shook the nation. He offered $1 million. The soldier didn't flinch. Social media exploded. Veterans shared their stories. Photos of dog tags, letters from home, boots left by empty chairs. One post read, "I served 12 years, never got a medal, never got $1 million offer. But I'd take Ryan's silence over Victor's money any day." Another, "That slap wasn't just on Ryan's face. It was on every soldier who ever stood in formation, held a rifle, or came home broken." But it wasn't just veterans reacting. Teachers paused lessons, showed the clip, talked about respect, about courage, about what it means to stand for something when no one's watching. A high school in Ohio held a moment of silence for the unknown soldiers. Students stood in the hallway, quiet, holding handmade flags. In a diner in Kansas, a group of truckers passed around a tablet, watching the video in silence. One wiped his eye. "That guard," he said, "he's the kind of man my dad used to talk about, the kind you don't see no more." They collected $300 in cash right then. Sent it to a veterans charity with a note, "For the quiet ones, the ones who don't need applause." Back in D.C., the fallout hit fast. Langston Innovations stock dropped 14% in 2 hours. Investors called, board members panicked. Their CEO arrested, charged, filmed, not for fraud, not for scandal, for slapping a soldier guarding the unknown dead. One board member muttered in a closed-door call, "We can't spin this. You can't disrupt honor." Meanwhile, Margaret sat in a quiet corner of the company's DC office, staring at her laptop. She'd spent 10 years climbing the ladder at Langston Innovations, worked 80-hour weeks, swallowed her pride, ignored the way Victor treated people, all for stability, for success, for the title on her business card. Now, she couldn't stop seeing Ryan's face, not when he was slapped, but after. When he didn't react, when he turned and kept walking. She thought about the emails she'd sent, demanding staff work weekends, the times she'd cancelled family events for Victor's last-minute trips, the way she'd justified his behavior for so long. He's brilliant, she'd tell herself. He's under pressure, but brilliance doesn't give you the right to humiliate someone guarding the dead. Power doesn't give you the right to think you're above everyone else. She closed her laptop, walked to the window, looked out at the city, and for the first time in years she asked herself, who am I working for, and why? At Arlington, life returned to rhythm. Ryan finished his shift, changed out of uniform, walked away without a word. No interviews, no statements, no social media, just duty done. But the country wouldn't let it go. Veterans organizations reached out, not to exploit him, but to thank him. One sent a letter. "You didn't speak for yourself. You spoke for all of us. We see you." Another started a quiet campaign, 21 Steps for Honor. People across the country began walking 21 steps in their neighborhoods, parks, backyards, filming it, posting it, not for clout, for reflection. A firefighter in Seattle walked 21 steps after his shift, posted, for the ones who never got to come home from their last call. A nurse in Florida did the same after a 14-hour shift, for the ones who gave everything on a battlefield and the ones who still fight in silence. It wasn't viral, it was meaningful, and Ryan, he didn't know about most of it. He wasn't seeking attention. He was back on duty the next day. Same routine, same precision, same quiet strength. But something had shifted, not in him, in us. Because for 60 seconds we saw a collision, not between two men, between two worlds. One built on wealth, ego, and the illusion of control. The other built on silence, service, and sacrifice. And when they met, the quiet man won, not with fists, not with words, but with stillness, with refusal to break. That's what people couldn't forget, not the slap, but the lack of reaction. In a culture that rewards outrage, that thrives on drama, that demands you fight back, Ryan did the hardest thing of all. He stood, and in doing so, he made millions stand with him. Even Victor Langston couldn't escape the fallout, charged with assault and trespassing. His mugshot, face red, eyes wild, circulated everywhere. Lawyers worked overtime. Damage control teams scrambled. They tried to spin it. Emotional moment, high pressure, a misunderstanding. But the public wasn't buying it. Then came the final blow. The Tech Summit organizers dropped Langston Innovations as host. Public statement. We believe in progress, but progress without respect isn't progress at all. Sponsors followed, one by one. Within 48 hours, Victor's biggest project, the one he'd bragged about at the tomb, was gone. His empire didn't crumble overnight, but its foundation cracked. And for the first time, people saw him for what he was, not a visionary, not a leader, just a man who mistook money for worth. Weeks passed. Ryan kept his silence, but the story didn't die. Schools began including it in character education programs, not as a lesson in anger, but in restraint, in dignity. One teacher told her class, Ryan didn't win because he was stronger. He won because he was steadier. And sometimes standing still is the bravest thing you can do. A documentary crew reached out to Arlington, requested footage, not of Victor, not of the arrest, of Ryan's steps, the rhythm, the precision, the weight behind every movement. They titled the short film, The 21. It aired on public television, no commentary, no music. Just the sound of boots on stone. Click, 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 pause, turn, and back again. People watched, in living rooms, in veterans' homes, in quiet offices after long days, and many, just like Tommy, held flags a little tighter, because they finally got it. This wasn't about a man in a uniform. It was about what the uniform means. It means someone was willing to walk into danger so you wouldn't have to. It means someone chose to stand so others could sit in peace. It means, even when no one's watching, they still do the right thing. Victor Langston eventually took a leave of absence from his company. No official reason given, but we know why. He couldn't show his face, not in boardrooms, not in airports, not even in his own neighborhood. People recognized him, not as a CEO, as the man who slapped a tomb guard and lost everything that mattered. Margaret resigned a month later, sent a short email. I can't serve a man who doesn't understand service. She didn't say where she was going, but sources say she joined a non-profit that supports veterans' mental health. Davis, the driver, kept his job. But he stopped wearing the company badge, said he didn't want to be associated with a name that had become a warning. Ryan Mitchell never gave an interview, never wrote a book, never cashed in on fame. He just kept walking. 21 steps. Pause, turn, shift, every day, rain or shine, in silence. But his silence, it spoke louder than any speech, because in a single moment he reminded us of something we'd started to forget, that not all heroes wear capes, some wear uniforms, some don't say a word, and some stand in one place, so the rest of us can move forward. So ask yourself, what do you stand for when the noise gets loud? When someone tries to break your calm, when disrespect walks right up to your line, do you react or do you stand like Ryan, like the unknowns, like the ones who gave everything so we could have the chance to choose? This story isn't just about a slap. It's about what happens when honor refuses to bend, when duty stands taller than ego, when a single man walking in silence makes a nation remember what matters. If this story moved you, if you believe there's still power in quiet strength, do 3 things. 1. Share this video, not for clicks, but so others can remember. 2. Look up the real tomb guards at Arlington. Learn their code, their pledge, their sacrifice. 3. Next time you're near a memorial, a flag, a veteran, pause, just for a second, and say silently, thank you. Because freedom isn't free, and some people, they're still guarding it, even when no one's watching.